I'm remembering the days before I went away, way back in the hills of old Vermont. And the orchard on the hill, I think I see it still, way back in the hills of old Vermont. Oh, tonight I long to be where the catamount run free and the rattlesnake can lie out in the sun. Near the voices of the loons when the apple blossoms bloom, way back in the hills of old Vermont. Now there used to be a barn near the old fishing pond, way back in the hills of old Vermont. So many fields of hay now gone with yesterday, way back in the hills of old Vermont. Oh, tonight I long to be where the catamount run free and the rattlesnake can lie out in the sun. Near the voices of the loons when the apple blossoms bloom, way back in the hills of old Vermont. Well, everything has changed, nothing stays the same, way back in the hills of old Vermont. Like the old brown panther's roar, you won't hear that no more, way back in the hills of old Vermont. Oh, tonight I long to be where the catamount run free and the rattlesnake can lie out in the sun. Near the voices of the loons when the apple blossoms bloom, way back in the hills of old Vermont. But when the rains came down and flooded many towns, way back in the hills of old Vermont, all the people lent a hand for the loving of the land, way back in the hills of old Vermont. For tonight I long to be where the catamount run free and the rattlesnake can lie out in the sun. Near the voices of the loons when the apple blossoms bloom, way back in the hills of old Vermont. Hi, this is Rik Palieri here, over here in the hills of old Vermont, and hoping that you're having a good day. It's been one of those kind of slow days here. Hey Barry, good to see you. Just came back from Vermont. Well, it's a good place to be right now. I mean, the leaves are changing. It reminds you that old man winter isn't far behind, you know. And when we get out there, I get on my Vespa and I take my Zen loop. I drive around in a big circle around, going through a couple of different towns. I try to do that once a day. It kind of clears my head. And it was beautiful today. All the leaves are changing. And Mariana and I took a walk in the woods with Dolina, and that was really nice. Just quiet in the woods, except for the jets that were flying overhead. That wasn't as quiet as it should be. But it's I'm glad to be here today, and there's going to be I guess, you know, like I was talking about last week that both Mariana and I got vaccinated, which was really good, and we got our booster shots last week. So that was a good feeling, so that we could get together with people again, hopefully, and in a safe way. So that's what we're trying to do. But you know, this growing old stuff isn't for sissies, as Utah used to say. And I must have sang this song before, but I'm going to sing it again just because that's sort of the way that I'm feeling. Because on Saturday I have to go to the hospital get an MRI to see what's really going on with my shoulder. And that's one of the things that I thought I would talk about today is just that the whole idea. If you're a musician and you're of a certain age, you notice that things aren't quite the same as they used to be when you were younger. Now, I'm not that old, but I can still feel it. The color in the woods and around here is getting really nice, Mariana says. So this is a song I learned from Pete Seeger years ago. He said that he picked it up when he was singing at a senior center. Said he found the words written on the bathroom wall. And I think he added a few verses to it. How do I know my youth is all spent? My get up and go just got up and went. But in spite of it all, I'm able to grin and think of the places my get up has been. Well, old age is golden, or so I've heard said. But sometimes I wonder as I crawl into bed with my ears in a drawer, my teeth in a cup, my eyes on the table until I wake up. As sleep bends my vision, I say to myself, is there anything else I should lay on the shelf? Though nations are warring and business is vexed, I'll still stick around and see what happens next. How do I know my youth is all spent? My get up and go just got up and went. But in spite of it all, I'm able to grin and think of the places my get up has been. When I was younger, my slippers were red. I could kick up my heels right over my head. And when I was older, my slippers were blue, but still I could dance the whole night through. Now I'm still older, and my slippers are black. I huff to the store, and I puff my way back. But never you laugh, I don't mind at all. I'd rather be huffing than not puff at all. How do I know my youth is all spent? My get up and go just got up and went. But in spite of it all, I'm able to grin and think of the places my get up has been. I get up each morning and I dust off my wits. I open the paper and read the obits. For if I'm not there, I know I'm not dead, so I eat a good breakfast and go back to bed. How do I know my youth is all spent? My get up and go just got up and went. But in spite of it all, I'm able to grin and think of the places my get up has been. How do I know my youth is all spent? My get up and go just got up and went. But in spite of it all, I'm able to grin and think of the places my get up has been. Yeah, that was a fun song. Glenda, good to see you. Made it just in time for the banjo. Yeah, we always put a little bit of banjo on here. Every show we try to make some banjo music. And I have two banjos, no waiting. One I keep tuned in the C tuning, and then I have another one in a G tuning for later on. And, I was thinking about, the leaves changing in this time of the year. And this song is like a classic song that a lot of people, they play it on guitar, but you can play it on the banjo too. And I play it in that C minor. I'm capoed up, but it's more like that C minor position. And it goes... summertime, and the living is easy. Catfish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich, and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing. You're gonna spread your wings and take to the sky. Until that morning, well, nothing can harm you. With mommy and daddy standing by. Yeah. Let's sing it together. Summertime, and the living is easy. Catfish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich, and your mama's good looking. Little baby, don't you cry. Oh, summertime. And you know, another song that you can play on the banjo, Linda, you know, since you're watching. Let's see if I can remember it though. It's in that same three-quarter time. So you're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So I'm picking with my index finger, strum, thumb, 1, 2, 3. You can see why I got to go to the doctor. I once had a girl, or should I say, she once had me. She showed me her room, isn't it good, Norwegian wood. She asked me to stay, and she said I could sit anywhere. I looked around and I noticed there wasn't a chair. I sat on her rug, biding my time, drinking her wine. We talked until 3, then she said, it's time for bed. She told me she worked in the morning and started to laugh. and crawled off to sleep in the back. When then I awoke, I was alone. This bird had flown. So I lit a fire. Isn't it good? Norwegian wood. A little bit of Beatles there. Yeah, my hands are like, it's been really tricky lately. You know, with my shoulder out of joint here. Let's see if I can do this. You can't dance that, can't dance nothing. Wouldn't give a damn for old Jimmy Sutton. So that was the old Jimmy Sutton, or was trying to be the old Jimmy Sutton. Now, we were talking about that idea about aging. And I don't think I read you this story, but I thought I would. This is from my book, the Banjo Man Adventures of an American Folk Singer, which I'm really kind of excited because now it's an ebook, so it's available all over the world on Kobo, Kobo, and so that makes me really happy because it's a big book, as you can see, and it costs a lot of money to send it overseas. So this way, people can get it pretty cheaply on Kobo, wherever they are. Now, this is a kind of little bittersweet story, but I thought I would share it with you. So this is, it was late in September, several months after the Almanac Trail tour had ended, and that was back in 2012, I think. I was walking in the woods with Mariana and our dog. At that time, it was Arnica. Mariana's cell phone rang. It was Pete Seeger's daughter, Tina, asking if I was coming tomorrow, as I was on their calendar for a visit. I must have told Tina that I wanted to tell Pete about the tour, and she found a free time and put me in the date book. I knew that it was important to go, so anything I was planning to do that day would have to be put off. The next morning, I jumped into my trusty pickup truck and drove down to Beacon to Pete's bumpy driveway. When I arrived, he met me at the door, welcomed me right in. Right away, I could feel something different in the house. It was the first time that I had been back since Toshi had passed away in July. The house felt empty without her. Every other time that I had come there, I was working on some kind of project and asking Pete questions. This time, I was there for him, as a friend. Pete was missing Toshi. He needed someone to talk with. He walked over to a large photo collage that hung in the kitchen. "Rick," he said, "did you ever see this?" He pointed to a photo of their wedding. Then he talked about how they had first met. He kept pointing to more photos, recounting many of the happy moments in their life together. This was a very private moment, with nothing recorded, It was just two friends passing stories back and forth. I was there for most of the day sharing stories. I kept thinking that Pete must be getting tired, and it was time for me to leave, only to hear him start another story. Rick, he said as I got up from the table, you know that we've got the numeral system thanks to the Arabs. I was surprised. He said, so to celebrate that, if we're in good health, let's give ourselves a big number one. Now, he continued, if we are in good health and have a happy family, let's give ourselves a zero to add to that one. And now we've got 10. Now, if we're in good health and have a happy family and a good job, let's give ourselves another zero. And now we have 100. Well, now, if we have good health, a happy family, a good job, and we have a good reputation in our community as a dependable worker, let's give ourselves another big zero. Now we have 1,000. Then Pete looked right into my eyes and he said, but Rick, if you take away the one, what do you have left? Always remember that. He walked me to my truck, once again told me how he built his cabin. It was so hard to leave, for I knew that this might be our last time together. After a warm handshake, I climbed into my truck as Pete stood waving in the driveway. And that's what Pete was trying to tell me, was that the most important thing is to have good health. So, and it's easy when you're young, you know, it's almost like you're bulletproof. I can remember so many times of falling and never having anything broken. You could just fall, and you know, I used to jump off the trains when I was little, getting to school, and you jump off the train and you have to get away from the train. So I pushed myself off the ladder that I was holding on to, and roll on the rocky ballast, you know, and I just get up and go to school. So that it was not a big deal back then. But now, at 66, yeah, things are a little bit different, and you have to take it slower. So that's what I'm saying. If you're a musician, you might have to think about doing things a little differently. I can remember Pete when he was going through that. I didn't quite understand it, but he started losing his voice. A long time before he actually lost his voice, he started thinking about it, and he was doing exercises. He said that he went to a voice coach, and he learned that the way he was singing Weem was straining his voice because he was holding his head up, hitting that high note when you really should be putting your head down. And so he was trying to unlearn all of the bad habits that he accumulated over the years, knowing that it was kind of impossible to get rid of them all. And he kept singing for as long as he could. And I think, same thing with when Utah was having trouble with his hands, and he had that Doppler's in his hands, and he would tell me that, he was having a hard time playing his guitar. And for a while he stopped playing, but then he realized that people weren't coming to see him just play guitar, and there was a lot more work that he can do. So that was the real message there, is that as we grow, sometimes we have to slow things down a little bit, or do different kinds of exercises, figure out different ways to keep your hands moving. I put some of that CBD oil on my hands every once in a while, and that seems to help. A lot of people do that these days, and there's a lot of other things that you can do to try to keep your position right. Sometimes you do things for so long, and you're not really thinking about what you're doing, and sometimes you slide back into some bad habits that you didn't even know that you had. You thought you were playing this way that you always played, and then you look at some pictures and you realize that your hand position might be off. So we're never too old to really take a look back at these simple things that we've been doing and try to figure out the best way that we continue to do it. Because really, at the end of the day, it's more important for us to keep playing music than to play it perfectly. I can remember I was in Poland. It was a number of years ago now. And one of the mentors over there is named Yonko. He was a great musician, played the bagpipes and played the fiddle and kind of things. And whenever I used to go to see Yonko, we would go in his house and we would sit there and we'd play music together. He'd sometimes take out his big accordion. He loved to play Red River Valley and sing. And this time when I got there, that Yonko was pretty old. And I don't know if I have enough time to tell you that story, because that was another story that was kind of really important. I didn't think about it ahead of time. I think I might have to do that next time. So what happened to Yonko was he was getting so old that he was having a hard time playing. And I found it. So here we were. I was there with my friend Wiesza, and Wiesza was one of the young kids back, when I was in Poland, and her family were always friends with Yonko, and so we had arranged for Yonko to come over to her house, and we would eat some food together, and so she it went like this. By afternoon, Wiesza had picked up Yonko, another of my old friends. It was Yonko, along with Broda, who had welcomed me into this folk community. It was on our first meeting, he had strapped his gaida bagpipes around my waist, put his old red vest on my shoulders, and placed his hat upon my head. He smiled while placing my fingers over the holes of his old bagpipe to teach me a simple melody. For years we played music together with my banjo, his Czech accordion and fiddle. Since the time I first knew him, he had become a folk legend. Younger musicians and folklorists came to his small wooden cabin to record his music and learn from one of the old masters. But now, Yonko was an old man. His shoulders drooped. His feet were unsteady, and I noticed a tremor in his hands. As he slowly shuffled into Wiesza's house, I could feel that he might not be long for this world. After our meal, I asked Yonko if he would play a song with me. At first, he begged off, but then he picked up his old violin. His right arm started shaking as he pulled the bow over the strings. I could see that it was very difficult for him to play, and he was a little embarrassed. I looked at him and said, "Yonko, all your life you have played beautiful music, so you don't have to worry how it sounds right now. Let's just enjoy playing music together." Yonko grinned as I strummed my banjo, and we sang some of the old songs that we had so often played together. Yeah, that's the way it goes. As we age, things change, and it's harder to play, but we got to keep on playing. Driving down the highway looking for a little thrill, racing with my friends in my Pontiac Fontanella. Don't wear a seatbelt and don't give a damn. Driving into Nashville from Alabama. Young folks say you're having too much fun. I'm just too old to still die young. Just too old to still die young. I'm just too old to still die young. I'm just too old to still die young. just too old to still die young. I'm a hillbilly rebel yelling son of a gun. I'm just too old to still die young. I love my Harley, still love my whiskey. Life ain't for living if you're not being risky. Don't eat quiche, man, I ain't no sissy. Sleeping in a boxcar from Maine to Mississippi. Young folks say I'm having too much fun. Just too old to still die young. 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 I'm a hillbilly rebel yelling son of a gun. Just too old to still die young. I wake when the sun rises, eat lots of french fries, work like a damn fool, yell if I want to, move like a jaguar, run like a NASCAR, drink like an old clown, sleep when I fall down. Young folks say you're having too much fun. Just too old to still die young. 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 I'm a hillbilly rebel yelling son of a gun. Just too old to still die young. They say the good die too soon, but I'm still here shooting the moon. There may be snow on the top of my head, but I ain't laying down till they find me dead. Oh no, I'm driving down the highway looking for a little thrill, racing with my friends in my Pontiac Bonneville. Don't wear a seatbelt, I don't give a damn. Driving into Nashville from Alabama. Young folks say I'm having too much fun, but I'm just too old to still die young. Just too old to still die young. Just too old to still die young. I'm just too old to still die young. Just too old to still die young. I'm a hillbilly rebel yelling son of a gun. I'm just too old to still die young. Hey, we all raise hell where I come from. Just too old to still die young. I'm a hillbilly rebel yelling son of a gun. I'm just too old to still die young. Ha ha! Just too old to still die young. Well, folks, you keep well, and I'll see you back next week, and we'll see if I can get better soon. So thanks for all your support, and I enjoy seeing everybody here, and look forward to seeing you again next week. All right, bye-bye.